A 26-year-old woman had been single for a while. After encouragement from her friends, she decided to try online dating. With some hesitation, she downloaded Tinder and began swiping through profiles. One day, she matched with a man named David, a well-spoken, attractive guy who seemed perfect. David worked as a photographer, and his charm came through in every message. They quickly hit it off. Sarah found herself looking forward to each message from him. However, beneath David's friendly persona, something much darker lurked. After a couple of weeks of messaging back and forth, David suggested they meet in person. Though nervous, Sarah agreed. They met at a trendy cafe downtown. David was just as charming and good-looking in person. The date went smoothly, with David sharing stories about his photography and travels. But there were a few subtle red flags Sarah noticed. He seemed to know a bit too much about her already, mentioning things she hadn't told him. Still, she brushed off her unease. After the first date, Sarah received constant messages from David. At first, it seemed sweet. He was attentive and always checked in. But soon, his messages became overwhelming. He asked where she was, what she was doing, and who she was with, almost every hour. Sarah started to feel smothered. One evening, she mentioned she was out with friends, and David showed up unexpectedly at the bar. When Sarah asked how he knew where she was, he just shrugged it off, saying it was a coincidence. Over the next few weeks, David began showing up at places Sarah frequented, even without her telling him. Whether she was at the gym or her favorite coffee shop, David always seemed to be there. He never admitted to following her, but his presence felt too coincidental. Sarah's friends noticed her growing discomfort, and she decided to pull back, asking David for space. David's response, however, was unsettling. He became emotionally manipulative, sending long messages about how much he needed her. After Sarah tried to distance herself, David's behavior became more intense. One night, after blocking his number, Sarah came home to find flowers on her doorstep. There was no note, but she knew they were from David. The next morning, she received an email from an unfamiliar address. It was David. He had created a new email to reach her. His messages were increasingly erratic, filled with declarations of love and bizarre references to their future together. One evening, after returning from a weekend trip, Sarah found her front door unlocked. Panicked, she rushed inside. Nothing seemed to be missing, but something was horribly wrong. In her bathroom, written on the mirror in red lipstick, was the message, "You can't hide from me." Sarah's heart pounded. She immediately called the police, but there was little they could do. She knew it was David, though he was nowhere to be found. The realization that he had been inside her home sent her into a spiral of fear. Terrified, Sarah moved to a new apartment and installed security cameras. She changed her phone number and blocked David on all social media platforms. Weeks went by, and there were no more messages, no signs of David. She finally began to feel a sense of relief, but the fear never completely left her. Even years later, she feels the urge to look over her shoulder, haunted by the memory of her obsessive Tinder match. She'll never forget the man who seemed perfect but turned her life into a nightmare.